Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A leading dinosaur protector and a behavior expert team up to save 20,000 people from the claws of the most powerful beast ever. Today we will recap the story of the 2015 movie, Jurassic World. Brothers Zach and Gray are preparing to take a vacation trip. They will spend the next week with their aunt, Claire, on an exciting journey through the dinosaur park. Their parents accompany them to the airport and Karen asks Zach to look after his younger brother during the trip. Before reaching their final destination, the youngsters board a ferry that will take them, along with the other tourists, to Isla Nublar, which is home to many different kinds of dinosaurs. When they land on the island, Zara, Claire's assistant, is there to greet them. When they arrive at the hotel room, the woman hands them the VIP access that the boys' aunt had arranged for them. In this way, they could visit the entire park without waiting in line. Meanwhile, Claire had to deal with the bureaucracies of the place. The woman explains to the patrons that, as the years go by, visitors are no longer content with the dinosaurs that already exist. More and more, the demand for larger and scarier species is increasing. Therefore, their scientists have succeeded in developing a genetically modified hybrid, which they have named Indominus Rex. As an adult, the animal will reach 15 meters in length, which means that it will be much larger than the T-Rex itself. After the meeting with the sponsors, Claire meets her nephews at the Innovation Center. This is the first time they have seen each other in 7 years. In this room, there are several life-size holograms of dinosaurs and buried bones for children to play with in paleontology. The woman informs the boys that Zara will take care of them that day, and in the evening, when she gets off work, they would have dinner together. Gray is disappointed. After all, he went there to spend a week's vacation with his aunt. Seeing the disappointment in the boys' eyes, Claire promises that the next day she will spend more time with them. They say goodbye and the woman walks to the control room, through which the dinosaurs and visitors were monitored all the time. She then goes to meet Simon Masrani, the owner of that park. They fly by helicopter to Paddock 11, where Indominus Rex's quarters are, so that the man can meet the new dinosaur. During the tour, it becomes clear that Claire considers those creatures just items in her exhibit, without taking into consideration that they are living beings. On the other hand, Simon reminds us that Jurassic World exists to remind humans how small we are in the face of the greatness of other animals, and thus to encourage humility in people. In the containment room, Claire tells her that Indominus Rex is more intelligent than any other dinosaur. Within a few days, she started guessing where her food would come from and almost ripped off an employee's arm. Simon notices some cracks in the wall and Claire reveals that the animal tried to break the glass. And shortly after, the creature appears. Simon is dazzled to see that menacing monster. The woman tells him that there was also a brother in case she did not survive childhood. However, she devoured him. The man informs them that Owen Grady, a former member of the U.S. Navy, is on the island and asks Claire to take him to that place to inspect the paddock to ensure that there are no security breaches there. On the other side of the island, Owen trains his raptors. Blue begins chasing a pig until the man orders her to stop. Incredibly, the animal obeys his orders, and soon after, the other dinosaurs appear. They follow Owen to a platform where they are given rats as a treat to reward them for good behavior. At the end of the training, Vic Hoskins shows up and suggests that Owen release those animals for a field test. Vic intends to use dinosaurs as weapons to fight wars. To do this, he needs Owen's help to lead them. Owen claims that this is a bad idea because his raptors are wild animals, but Vic does not give up his idea easily. As he argues with Owen and tries to convince him to adhere to his idea, the pig breaks free from its cage and runs across the field. One of the employees tries to rescue him, but is knocked down by Blue. Now he is about to be devoured by those creatures, but Owen steps in to save him. He tries to calm the raptors down while the boy goes to safety. Owen asks Barry to close the gate and runs outside as the railing is coming down. Luckily, his training went well and no one was hurt. Before leaving, Owen advises the newcomer never to turn his back on the cage. On the other side of the park, Gray was having fun watching the other children play with the Triceratops. On the other hand, Zach was bored with that walk and decides to escape Zara's supervision while she was distracted. The boy and his younger brother rush to watch the T-Rex show and Gray is terrified to see the dinosaur devouring the goat. Meanwhile, Claire heads to Owen's quarters. The woman asks him to accompany her to learn about a new species of dinosaur created in her lab. The man asks why they need his help and Claire says that he is the only one who can help improve Indominus Rex's temperament before she is introduced for exposure, since he is able to control the raptors. Upon hearing this, Owen becomes angry and states that he does not control those dinosaurs. He clarifies that he has a relationship with them based on mutual respect. Owen takes advantage of the situation to pick on the scientist, saying that, for her, everything is a matter of control, which is why they have never had a second date. Claire gets angry and claims that she never wanted to have a second date with him. After a quick discussion, the woman says she will wait for Owen in the car. Before he goes, she advises him to change the shirt he is wearing, because Indominus Rex is very sensitive to smell. The two brothers continue their adventure exploring that island. Now they are sitting on the bleachers to meet the Mosasaurus, an aquatic reptile larger than any other sea creature. To lure the animal out of the water, the employees use a white shark as bait. A few seconds later, the monster appears and devours the shark, as if it were just a snack. The audience goes wild, and after the show, the stands begin to come down. At that moment, the visitors can see the Mosasaurus inside its tank. Back in Paddock 11, Claire directs an employee to serve food to Indominus Rex. This way, the dinosaur would appear and Owen could meet him. When he observes the methodology they used with the animal, Owen is startled. According to him, animals raised in isolation usually have a very bad temperament. Although their raptors were born in captivity, they grew up together, like brothers. This teaches them how to live in society. Moreover, Owen has lived with them since the moment they were born. In this way, he has managed to gain their trust. In the case of Indominus Rex, the only positive relationship the animal has is with the mechanical arm that feeds it. While they were talking, something strange happens. Even though they are serving food, the creature does not appear. Claire tries to detect the thermal signals to locate the dinosaur, but the camera cannot find it. Owen notices claw marks on the wall and everyone believes that the animal has escaped. Claire tells them that the Indominus Rex has an implant in its back and goes to the control room to track it. On the way, the woman calls Lowry and asks the man to give her the coordinates of the Indominus Rex. Meanwhile, Owen, along with two other park employees, enters the paddock to check the claw marks on the wall. They are surprised that the animal has climbed a 12-meter-high wall. However, upon checking the system, Lowry states that the dinosaur is still in the cage. While talking to Claire, he tells her that some people have entered the cell and orders his team to get them out. Vivian immediately tries to contact the Paddock 11 team and orders them to clear the containment area. They try to run, but Indominus Rex prevents them from leaving. The animal begins to chase them and devours its first victim. The second employee opens the gate and manages to escape. Then the control team closes the gate, even though Owen is inside. They must stop the Indominus from getting out at all costs. Just as the cage was about to be completely locked, Owen manages to slip through the gap and escape from the monster. However, the creature manages to open the gate and is now free. Owen hides under a car while the security guard tries to take cover behind another vehicle. But the dinosaur can identify him by his smell and, after destroying the truck, devours him. Seeing this, Owen cuts the fuel hose and pours gasoline on his own body to camouflage its smell. Fortunately, his plan works. The animal cannot detect him and leaves. Sometime later, Claire arrives at the control room and sends a containment unit to capture that monster. Barry receives an alert and is warned about the item that has escaped containment. Vic is with him and sees an opportunity to put the raptors to the test. While some visitors take a kayak tour of the canal alongside the dinosaurs, the special soldiers go after Indominus to try to contain him. Owen arrives angrily at the control room and informs them that the dinosaur marked that wall to trick them. His plan was to make the humans believe that he had escaped. Claire tries to calm him down by saying that this was just an animal. However, it is a highly intelligent animal that presents great danger to the people on that island. Through the cameras, Owen realizes that the soldiers have gone after that monster without lethal weapons, and Simon states that they cannot kill it because they have invested $26 million in that item. Owen asks them to call off the mission, because without powerful weapons, those men will die. However, his request is ignored and the mission continues. One of the men finds a piece of meat containing the tracking implant. Indominus remembered where the device was placed and managed to pull it out. The creature was camouflaged among the trees, just waiting for the right moment to devour its prey. The soldiers attack it with their stun guns, but this only serves to make it even more furious. During the attack, they are being killed one by one while the whole team follows the tragedy live from inside the control room. The employees watch their colleagues being exterminated without being able to do anything at all to help them. Seeing that carnage, Owen asks them to empty the island. Indominus Rex is a killing machine created in a laboratory. The man claims that it will attack absolutely anything that moves. Claire resists the idea, because if she does this, the park can never reopen. Owen keeps insisting that the only way to stop that thing is to kill it, but gets no support. So he decides to leave and let them deal with that creature on their own. Claire decides to close the entire north wing of the resort and remove all visitors from there. Simon goes to the research lab, where the hybrid dinosaurs were created, and orders Henry, the head researcher, to shut down all activities in that lab. He was responsible for creating Indominus Rex and claims that he did this at Simon's request. The man wanted bigger and scarier animals, but it is impossible to create threatening beasts without corresponding behavioral traits. Claire's nephews were taking advantage of the freedom of not having Zara around to venture into more dangerous rides. This time, they decide to take a ride in the gyrosphere, a vehicle so sturdy that it is able to withstand a 50 caliber shot and remain intact. Suddenly, the man who coordinated that ride receives a call with orders to close it and empty the place. While contemplating the beautiful animals protected inside the gyrosphere, the youngsters receive an alert that told them to disembark from the sphere and return to the park. Zack convinces Gray to stay a few more minutes and they both decide to enjoy the ride a little longer. Claire calls Zara and asks her to take the boys back to the hotel immediately. However, the woman informs her that they have disappeared. Just then, the scientist calls Zack and asks him and his brother to go back to the hotel. The boy tells her that he is inside a gyrosphere and, due to interference in the network, cannot hear what his aunt is saying. The connection drops and Claire asks Lowry to see if there are any gyrospheres in use in the valley. The man is able to identify the vehicle and the woman asks Vivian to send a team to pick them up. The problem is that the security guards were too busy trying to capture the menace that was loose in the park and it would take them a while to get the youngsters back. So Claire decides to go after them herself. Before she leaves, she goes after Owen and asks for the man's help in locating her nephews. Zack spots an open gate with a sign indicating a restricted area. Apparently the place has been broken into, but still the boy decides to go in there with his brother. Gray disagrees with the idea. The boy tries to get Zack to follow the directions they have received and return with him to the resort, but nothing works. Just ahead, they encounter 4 Ankylosaurus. Then the Indominus Rex appears behind them and begins to attack the other dinosaurs. While running toward its prey, the animal kicks the sphere and pushes the vehicle away. Zack tries to escape, but his vehicle is thrown by one of the Ankylosaurus while he was trying to defend himself from his predator. Indominus is unable to bite the animal's back due to its extremely thick shell, so he decides to turn it face up and devour its head. Even though they are terrified, the brothers believe they are safe inside the vehicle. Claire calls Zack, but the boy is upside down inside the sphere and is unable to answer her. The creature approaches the vehicle and within moments causes a crack in the glass. It tries to devour the sphere, but its mouth is not yet big enough to do so. As a result, the monster begins to crash the vehicle into the ground in an attempt to break it. Meanwhile, Zack takes off his seatbelt and that of his brother, and they both run to the top of a waterfall. Since they are trapped, their only option is to jump into the water. Encouraged by his older brother, Gray manages to do this and the pair escapes from the creature. They swim to shore and Zack feels proud of his younger brother's courage. On the way to the valley, the couple finds dozens of dead dinosaurs. Among them, an Apatosaurus that had been severely injured and was between life and death. Owen tries to calm him down in those last minutes of his life and Claire is moved by the scene. For the first time, the woman has such close contact with one of those animals and realizes that they also suffer, just like any other living being. When he realizes that Indominus has not devoured his prey, the man comes to the conclusion that this beast is killing just for fun, unlike any other dinosaur. A few miles later, they find the vehicle the boys were in. Claire finds Zack's cell phone destroyed and becomes desperate. But Owen notices the footprints in the mud and informs them that they jumped out, so they could still be alive. The couple then prepares to go after them. While trying to escape from that forest, Gray finds the hat of an employee who was certainly no longer alive. Soon after, Zack spots a crashed vehicle and realizes that he has arrived at the ruins of the old Jurassic Park. They enter that place and find the abandoned exploration jeeps. The boy fixes one of the vehicles and they get a ride out of that place. In the control room, Simon is able to track the hybrid and discovers that the animal is moving further and further south, where the visitors have been grouped. Just then, Vic Hoskins shows up and tells him that he has studied the raptors for 2 years. He then claims that his animals can track and hunt the monster. However, the billionaire states that he will not allow any raptor to be released on that island. Instead, he decides to fly a helicopter and take some properly armed agents to eliminate that creature. A few minutes later, the couple arrives at the ruins of the old park and Owen finds the shirt of one of the boys lying on the ground. The man intends to start the second car to go after them, but is surprised by the arrival of Indominus. The monster approaches the vehicle, but soon retreats. Just when they think they are safe, the creature appears again and knocks the roof off the shelter. The couple runs away and soon afterwards the helicopter appears. Vivian states that she has spotted the target south of the aviary and gives permission for the air team to attack. Simon lowers the helicopter so that one of the soldiers can machine gun the creature. However, this only serves to make matters worse. To protect itself from gunfire, the animal breaks through the aviary's barriers and releases hundreds of pterosaurs. The animals are startled by Indominus' presence and flee in desperation. crashing into the helicopter and causing the vehicle to crash into the barrier. When it hits the ground, the helicopter explodes, killing everyone inside. The couple runs into the forest in an attempt to protect themselves from those flying animals. By now, the youngsters have crossed the gate and are about to arrive at the park. Bray notices the presence of the pterosaurs and asks his brother to speed up. Zara calls Claire and informs her that she found the boys through the security cameras. They were near the west gate. Claire asks her to stay there and promises that she will arrive as soon as possible. Owen asks the scientist to get on his motorcycle and together they head for the park. Soon, the pterosaurs arrive at the place where the visitors have been grouped and a great massacre takes place. These formerly isolated creatures have their first direct contact with humans and make them their prey. They attack anything that comes their way, even other dinosaurs. Amidst the chaos, Owen and Claire appear. In the meantime, Zara finds the boys and tries to get them to safety. However, the woman ends up being captured and thrown into the tank. The pterosaurs go after her and one of them manages to grab her. However, both the woman and the creature meet an unexpected end, being devoured alive by the mosasaurus. While the soldiers are shooting at those monsters, Claire starts screaming for her nephews. Suddenly, the boys appear and are being chased by one of those things. Just as it was about to reach the boys, the animal is shot and eliminated. Meanwhile, Owen is also being attacked and must fight the creature to survive. Claire decides to help him and uses a gun to kill the animal. Relieved and grateful, Owen gives his friend a kiss while the nephews watch everything from a distance. When she sees the boys, she runs toward them and pulls them away from that place. Vic calls his men and invades the control room. He takes advantage of the fact that Simon is no longer alive to take control of the operation. His first act is to dismiss the entire original team and put a new group in charge of that mission. At that moment, Lowry calls Claire and informs the woman about what Vic is doing. Upon learning that the man intended to use the raptors in the mission, Owen is infuriated. They get into a car and go directly to the raptors' quarters. It was already night, and Vic was there. The first thing Owen does when he sees that guy is to punch him and order him to get out of there. The man claims that this operation will happen, with or without Owen's help. Then, to try to mitigate the possible damage, Owen decides to accompany the mission. Since he is the only one the raptors trust, the plan is to allow these dinosaurs to sniff out the target and then surround it, as they prefer to attack in groups. At this point, the soldiers will shoot the Indominus, but Owen asks that under no circumstances do they hit the raptors. While the hunt is on, Claire asks her nephews to get in the back of the truck while she is at the wheel, just in case they need to escape from there. Owen allows the raptors to smell a piece of meat with the tracker that Indominus Rex had ripped off, and then sets them free. The man and some soldiers go after them and, through the cameras they have strapped on their heads, are able to follow everything those animals are seeing. The raptors stop when they reach a certain location and Owen informs the team that they have found something. The soldiers prepare for the attack and Indominus appears. His raptors begin to communicate with the creature and Owen realizes that something is wrong. The man says he knows why they don't want to reveal what kind of DNA that monster has. According to him, the animal is half raptor. Vic orders his soldiers to shoot and Indominus Rex is hit. Still, the animal gets up and manages to escape. Now they will have to deal with the raptors, as they have become their new targets. Owen finds one of them and tries to communicate, but another soldier sends a bomb and blows up the animal. Realizing that the plan has gone wrong, Vic's men flee, leaving Owen and his partner behind. Barry hides inside a tree trunk, but is soon found. The animal tries to pull him out, but Owen uses his motorcycle to get its attention and the dinosaur begins to chase him. Claire follows everything on camera and tries to calm her nephew. Suddenly, a bloodied soldier appears in the truck window and the woman screams desperately. The man asks her to run away and tries to get into the back of the vehicle, but is eventually caught. While the woman is driving, another dinosaur appears and breaks through the truck window. However, Claire manages to knock it out. The creatures do not give up and continue chasing the vehicle. Claire manages to run over one of them, but Blue is still after them. Bray finds some stun guns and, with Zach's help, manages to electrocute the animal and thus buy time to escape. Soon after, Owen appears on his motorcycle and asks Claire to follow him. In the control room, all employees are asked to leave for their own safety. Vivian informs Lowry that there is a boat waiting for them, but the man states that he will remain there until all the people on the island are safe. A few minutes later, Owen, Claire and the boys arrive at the Innovation Center and enter to find shelter. When they arrive at the lab, they find Vic. The man and his team were storing the leftover embryos and intended to take them away for further testing. Claire asks about Henry's whereabouts and Vic reveals that the doctor works for his team. They intended to use the Indominus Rex genes to create living weapons that would act on the country's military base. Just then, one of the raptors appears and devours Vic. Owen and his team take the opportunity to flee, but are soon overtaken. Bray turns on one of the dinosaur holograms to distract the creature and gain a few more minutes to escape. When they finally manage to get out of that room, two other raptors are waiting outside. Owen tries to communicate with Blue and make her remember the relationship they have built. This is his last hope to get out of that place alive. At this point, Indominus Rex appears and strikes up a conversation with his new friends. However, Blue decides to stay by Owen's side and ends up being attacked while trying to protect him. The other raptors unite and set out to attack the dinosaur. Owen also joins in the attack and shoots the creature. Claire has a plan to help them and asks her nephews to wait until she returns. The monster manages to get rid of the raptors and goes back to hunting Owen. The man hides with the boys, but the animal manages to track them down. Meanwhile, Claire contacts Lowry and asks him to open Paddock 9. He tries to resist the idea, but eventually gives in to his friend's request. As the gate opens, Claire uses a flare to draw the attention of the creature inside. Suddenly, T-Rex approaches and starts running after her. The woman throws the flare towards Indominus and T-Rex attacks him. The dinosaurs get into a brutal fight, but T-Rex is at a disadvantage. He is about to lose the fight, however. Blue shows up to help him. The two then team up to eliminate a common target. Meanwhile, Claire and the others try to survive amidst this battle of titans. Blue and T-Rex corner Indominus near the pond. Within moments, Mosasaurus appears and grabs the creature by the neck, dragging it into the water. Despite being the highly powerful hybrid against the Mosasaurus, the animal doesn't stand a chance. At the end of the battle, T-Rex decides to leave Blue and the humans alone. Before leaving, the raptor says goodbye to Owen. The next morning, already off the island, while they were receiving medical care along with the other wounded, the boys' parents show up. They hug and Karen is extremely happy to see her sister. Claire decides to leave her nephews with their parents and goes to talk to Owen. After all the trouble they went through together, the couple leaves with the promise that they will survive anything. On Isla Nublar, T-Rex is still on the loose. Will he now become the king of that island, or will the humans be able to take back control of the place? So, what did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.